Welcome to another edition of Wicked Problems. In this, our 10th episode, exploring the world of EV, you could say we're on the go, because I'm joined by Neill Emmett, Global Marketing and Brand Director for Konekt, a Gilbarco Veeder-Root business. Konekt provide modular services to the EV industry, particularly focusing, although not exclusively, on forecourts. Neill joins me to discuss how that world works and how Konekt's end-to-end EV charging ecosystem makes it easy for drivers to stay mobile, and it's effortless for charge point operators operating within a mixed fuel environment to focus on their core operations. It shines a light into the fascinating world of on-the-go charging, and there's another interesting episode in our EV series. Listen and enjoy. Welcome, Neill, to Wicked Problems. We're thrilled to have you here. Wonder if you might just start by telling us a little bit about yourself, what you do, who you work for, and what they do.
Thank you very much. Really good to be here. Appreciate the invitation. I'm Neill Emmett, Global Marketing Director at Konekt. Konekt is an EV charging infrastructure business. We're part of Gilbarco Veeder-Root. Gilbarco Veeder-Root is a global refueling and energy solutions business, and they're part of Vontier. Konekt was formed to really make that process of electrification for fuel retailers easy and seamless. Our customers have been asking us for a number of years, and we've worked with them for a long time. How can you help us transition from traditional fuel to electric? And that's why we stood up the Konekt business. And it's really about simplicity and end-to-end process. So we've built an ecosystem, and that ecosystem's from infrastructure design, site assessment, support with grants and funding. We also provide the hardware, software, energy management solutions, and also implementation, and also support and maintenance afterwards. So it's a whole end-to-end piece. And we've taken it so much end-to-end that we're also connecting with a payment infrastructure for the fuel retailer. One of the things that happens in EV charging, which is a bit weird, maybe not weird, non-intuitive, is everybody starts with, I need some hardware. And they start there. And then they start to connect to, well, what else do I need? What else do I need? But if they view it as a whole integrated piece, it's so much more efficient for them, for the driver, for all of their staff and all of their team. There's a significant benefit to that whole process.
So Konekt is really a turnkey solution, I guess. And it's really, I think from what I know of it and from what I've heard you saying about it, it's really aimed at the fuel providers who want to get EV charging into their service stations that the forecourts they already own, and it's a full sort of soup to nuts thing, right? So you're talking about the initial financing, but also the planning permission and the financing of the kit onto the forecourt, the installation, the whole shebang.
The whole end-to-end process. And then if they want to, we can support them with the ongoing management and maintenance as well. Right.
So there's a CPMS involved there. There's coming out and doing site visits to rectify any faults that are there. That's an area where I've worked in myself. I used to do this with Shell Recharge Solutions. And one of the nightmares that we had was the service and maintenance of the kit on the forecourts, because you're in a wet fuel environment. You've got a lot of electricity, and therefore there's a lot of sensors on these things, and sometimes they trigger. That can lead to these the chargers not being available when in fact they could have been available because there's nothing wrong. So it diminishes the quality of service. How do you ensure that quality of service is as high as it can be for the people that you're providing that Konekt service to?
It's something we tackle for customers, and we do it for fuel retailers, and we also do it for a number of CPOs as well. We provide the charge management software, which monitors the charger. We then have a network operations center who are in the software all the time, monitoring uptime, make sure everything is as it should be. As you know, with many of these pieces, chargers are run on sort of a series of codes. Now, sometimes, as you say, there might be a sensor, something might trigger, and that might trigger an error. Within the software, we've got a protocol that will identify many of these errors and then work through what the remedy is for that. And in many instances, it's restart the hardware. So about 80% of our software is able to self-heal some of those problems. Because we also have a network operations team as well, who are monitoring that, they're then looking to see what else is happening. They also have the ability to take calls from drivers. So a driver can call in and say, hey, I've got a problem here. The network operations team can identify what's the issue. Is it user error? And the line share of those errors are user error. But if they aren't, they can go through that remediation process with them. And it's very swift because we can then fix it through the hardware, because we can actually remote in, have a look, see what the issue is. The software manages that. And if there's a more complex issue, we can call out a field engineer. And because we're part of Gilbarco Veeder-Root, massive organization, we've got field engineers all over the world, and nobody's really too far from any of our customers. We would build an SLA for them and get them on site. And the other cool thing about it, because we've got the network operations team, they've remoted in to the hardware. When the field engineer is there on site, they can actually collaborate. So rather than turning up and thinking, well, I think it's that, just replace that module, the network operations team can work with the field service engineers to swiftly identify the issue, remedy the problem, and then get it back up and then live test it together. So it makes a significant improvement in that time to remedy a problem.
I can see that's really powerful, because that time to remedy was always, if you have to kind of build up a team of engineers across Europe or across, even just across one country from scratch, that's a pretty onerous thing to have to do in order to service that need. So I can really see that if you've got that team there already and you've got the people who can take the calls and you can monitor, and the self-healing, very important, because I think that is something that traditionally has been lacking. So the ability to say, okay, I recognize this code, therefore I can remote restart automatically, and that might fix the issue. That's going to make a massive difference to the uptime of the estate that someone has. So I think that's really powerful.
Exactly. There's another part to that as well. Because we're cross-training those service engineers, they're already familiar with the fuel retail site. They're already familiar with the configuration on the site. And one of the things that's ingrained within our whole business is safety. So even when they drive and park and arrive, they park defensively. So their whole piece is ingrained in all that they do. There's probably not another population of technical experts who are dealing with a complex piece of technology that the general public interact with, that delivers potentially a highly dangerous substance. Because you've got traditional fuel and you've got electricity. Both of those things are, you need to be very conscious in what you're doing and careful in how you're doing it. So that cross-training that we're doing, they're an ideal fit.
Yeah, so you don't want people dropping a match around wet fuel, and you don't want people sticking their fingers on a 150 kilowatt supply, right? So that's just very trite examples, but those things will kill you if you treat them without the kind of respect that they need to be treated with. And I remember being with Shell Recharge it was New Motion to begin with, but when it became part of Shell were very, very strong on health and safety, and for good reason. And it used to maybe irritate some people initially until they really understood, okay, well, now we understand why, because it's so important. You're dealing with a lot of, as I said, forecourts. And I saw recently, well, maybe not quite so recent now, but it was last year, I think, that the Competition and Markets Authority said that it's okay for motorway service area providers to be able to run their own charge point operations. So that's something that's kind of new, because where you used to have the fuel, you would go then to somewhere else to park if you wanted to get, I don't know, something to eat, have a cup of tea, and sit for a while, or do some shopping. Maybe you went into one of the supermarket chains that's got a presence there. But of course, there weren't fuel pumps in the car parking spaces. That was a separate thing. So now you've potentially got another area of competition, because you've got a wet fuel provider providing EV charging, tick, nice. But you've also then potentially got someone like, and I'm not naming names for any other reason than the one that comes to mind is Apple Green. They have a number of motorway service areas, and they will be allowed to, and I think they probably do already, provide that service to their clients. How do you think that's going to play out from a competition or a competitive landscape perspective?
I think ultimately the user or the consumer, and in this instance the driver, will decide. They'll decide which operator will be most successful. We know what people want from EV charging. They want reliability, they want good services, and they want decent, sensible pricing. In this instance, we believe the modern fuel retail convenience store will thrive in this environment. Yes, you've got CPOs in the edge of the car park, but actually I think there's a fuel retailer who's really going to succeed in this. And I listened to the podcast you did recently with Neil Riddle, and he tackles some of this piece. And he gives a very good example in his, where actually you arrive at a service station. In his instance, he went inside and, changed his child's nappy. But there's a real thing actually here of, we think the modern fuel retailer is ideally placed for this. They're in sensible distances along the highway. They provide all the amenities on site. You've got food, you've got beverages, whatever you need, you've got a toilet. And the honesty is, your bladder's needs to stop more frequently than the car does these days. And the other piece, which I think Kate Tyrrell's done a great job on, is think about this piece of Charge Safe. And Charge Safe is not only for women. I think it's everybody needs to be safe. And again, that's where I think the modern fuel retailer really thrives, because it's well lit, it's staffed, there are plenty of people around. And that's where we believe if we can help those guys do the transition, it's a really positive user experience. And that's where I really believe the consumer will win, and actually they'll drive the behavior of some of these service providers.
And maybe they both win to a degree. Sometimes I want to stop because I just want to charge, get a coffee, be on my way. Sometimes I want to stop because I want to actually have a bit of a break. Sit down, have a bit more of and enjoy my food experience a bit more, but let's say maybe do a little bit of shopping on the way to visiting friends or something. And so maybe I then go to the motorway service areas provider. The other time I go to the wet fuel provider. I might have to stop calling them wet fuel providers at some point because there might be less and less of that. But
it's ultimately, it's about ROI. That's what's driving this. It's about ROI.
ROI. And it came into my head thinking about, well, how do they monetize the experience more than just charging me whatever it is per kilowatt hour? Is there other ways for them to create revenue using something like Konekt in that forecourt environment?
Yeah, absolutely. And we've done some research on this as well. So the starting point, as you know, a fuel retailer will make significant volume in revenue from their traditional fuel, but they make the profit in the convenience store. And it's very similar in this instance for electric charging, but you have a longer dwell time. So if you have a longer dwell time, the time that somebody's spending in the shop, you have an opportunity to make more money. And there's a number of elements to this. So if somebody's got a longer dwell time, maybe you would offer Wi-Fi, maybe you would offer a restaurant rather than just fast food and a snack. So there are differences within that. But the other piece we've done, because we've built a connected ecosystem, that connected ecosystem enables additional profit pools. So you've got a longer dwell time, more money in the convenience store. You also have an opportunity to install battery storage. If you install battery storage, you charge up the battery at night, or you charge up using solar, and then you deploy it, deploying high power charging to those cars when they're with you. You also have the opportunity to sell excess electrons back to the grid. There's also another efficiency within this as well. Within your process of our integrated ecosystem, because we've integrated with a payment terminal as well, which integrates to the fuel retail back office, that piece, we're simplifying the process for the fuel retailer. So that means less training, less staff required. And because we're monitoring the charger, they don't have to provide, again, people to support. And again, because we have the network operations center, if the driver has an issue, they call us. They don't go into the convenience store and say, hi, I've got an issue. What do I do? Because remember, I mentioned to you, the lion's share of calls that we get in are from user error because people are still learning. And this is the honesty of it. People are still learning this process. So it then frees up the guys in the convenience store to do what they really should be doing, which is ultimately selling. So that seamless connected ecosystem takes a whole load of pain away from the convenience store. We manage that because we're the experts, and they enable a number of profit pools within that, because ultimately we're all about how do we help our clients make more money.
So yeah, they can monetize by shifting electrons back over the grid. They can monetize through reduced staffing costs. They can monetize through being able to concentrate on the selling, and getting people, because they have more dwell time, will presumably quite often buy more things, buy more stuff. So it's not a quick sausage roll and a coffee. It could be something a bit more beyond that people are buying.
If you've got 25 minutes dwell time, you've got enough time for a quick meal as well, haven't you? So you've got time for a meal. The other piece is installing something like energy management. So you might put battery storage on site and you might deploy an energy management system. The energy management system would look at the energy need of the whole site and then manage that for you in the most efficient way. So it would manage the connection to the grid. It would manage what's deployed from solar. It would manage what's stored in the battery, and then the power that's deployed back to charging. There's probably many instances that many EV drivers would tell you about of they went to a high power charging. They were expecting maybe 150 kilowatts, but they weren't getting that because maybe every bay was full. Everybody else was drawing power. Maybe there wasn't a good grid connection. So what your battery storage unit energy management system does is it safeguards that piece. Because then if you then are known to have a good, reliable power supply, you then have more loyal customers. More loyal customers, greater utilization, and then it just feeds in. There's also a piece, and I think it might be McKinsey said, if you've got EV charging in a convenient location that with a good connection, I think you can then charge about a 10% premium to those around you. So again, there's another profit pool within this efficiency. So it's all about having an efficient process that is seamless and connected, that then engenders loyalty, increases footfall, increases ROI. And you can start to see how all of these comes into a bit of a snowball effect.
Because as you said earlier, I think what people pay for is convenience and efficiency and consistency of experience. I saw a report by Boston Consulting Group, I think it was, that said 90% of fuel retail sites could be at risk by 2035 if they didn't adapt to the EV transition. Presumably, you've probably seen similar reports, but is that a sentiment you agree with?
Yeah, we think the number's about 80, but absolutely the sentiment and direction is absolutely consistent. And you start to think, what's driving that? Well, 2035, 2035, the sale of new internal combustion vehicles. And various European markets vary, and we'll see what's happening in America as that plays through. But ultimately, it demonstrates organizations need to adapt. They need to adapt to survive. And we're helping them because we believe there's a significant opportunity in this market.
You're seeing them also realize that this is the direction of travel, presumably.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. And does Konekt, we talked about Konekt and we talked about it helping people with fuel sites. Does it extend beyond fuel sites? Do you also use it in other environments?
Yeah, we do. From a support service maintenance, we work with a lot of CPOs, so charge point operators. No surprise from their perspective, uptime is an absolute criticality. So you've seen the regulation that came in November last year, focus on them. We also support some fleets. So fleet is a significant opportunity for electrification. we've got a number of strategic partners where we're supporting fleets, and both of those are opportunities. However, we see the fuel retail convenience store as that real opportunity. And there's a few pieces to that. Gilbarco Veeder-Root, that's our parent. There's a significant legacy in that, and we've worked with clients in that space for 160 years. In Europe, we've got about 50% market share. In North America, it's about 60% market share. And if it was a truck stop in North America, it'd be about 80% market share. So significant footprint in that market. And a lot of them are saying to us, help us. How do we do this? You're our trusted provider. How do we do this? And we have a significant duty of care to help them on this journey. And also, how do we do this in a sustainable manner? How do we make it so that, when our kids grow up, they're growing up in an environment where electrification and decarbonisation is a really positive thing?
Yeah. Okay. So it's a very wide application that you've got. I hear what you're saying about fuel retailers being a prime real estate, I guess, or primarily positioned. We talk to a lot of people on the show. I've done quite a few, been around different areas of the industry. So, you're concentrating on sort of the rapid and ultra rapid charging locations, but I've also been speaking to people who look at, what are known as destinations. So that's, cinemas maybe, or shopping centres or whatever. And also home charging. But what I come across a lot of the time is people being frustrated by the number of myths that are out there in the world. And there's a lot of effort to try and bust myths open and sort of dissipate them, I suppose. Do you come across a lot of that yourself? And what's your thinking about how we tackle the sort of misinformation that is rife?
You've struck upon one of my pet hates. There's a lot of myth in the market, and there's a lot of misunderstanding. And I think we need to be careful not to cross the two over. There's also, I hate myth busting fundamentally. Let me really just get into the guts of it. I hate myth busting. I hate myth busting for a number of reasons. I think it's not helpful. Let me give you an example here. So please do not ever think about pink elephant, yeah? And definitely don't think about pink elephants flying, right? Please don't think about that, okay? Now, the first thing you have to do in your mind is you conjure an elephant, it's probably pink, and then it might be flying. And then you've probably, at some point, somebody who's listening has probably got to Dumbo. And that's not helpful, because then I need to say to you, elephants are not pink, they're grey. And then I need to do that unwinding in your mind. What would be better that we did positive storytelling that was then emotive, that then took somebody on a journey. And then that reinforced something in your mind. So let me give you another story. Herd of elephants in Africa have just crossed a river. And actually, there's a calf who's stuck behind. The herd's gone on and the calf is struggling to get up the bank. And we think, this poor little calf can't get up the bank. And the herd's gone off and it's starting to get a bit distressed. Trumpets away, the herd notice and come back. They then help it get up the bank. And then they all get up the bank together. You've seen them online where it pushes them up with a trunk, up they go up the bank, and off they go together. There's an emotive story there that's got a positive ending that's clearly articulated. That's the kind of thing that we should be doing. We should be telling positive stories in the market that help. Now, I have a real concern about this, and there are publishers putting out news about EVs, and honestly, some of them are making mistakes. So they get a peak in their traffic, their web traffic, whatever that is. Then everybody who's an expert in EV then jumps on and say, this is wrong, they shouldn't have said this. And then the publisher gets another peak. And they think, well, hang on a second, I'm getting two peaks here. So my view is, let's stop myth busting. Let's really take a grown-up approach into the market. Let's tell positive stories about what the trajectory is, what the opportunity is, and make them authentic. Let's not just tell only the positive. Let's tell the positive and the negative. EV is not right for everybody. But if you can tell it in a positive, open, authentic manner, then people can make their own decision. Because at the moment, I think there's a lot of misunderstanding of the market. And it's not helped because one side say one thing, one side says the other. Again, my piece on let's focus on positive storytelling that is authentic and honest, that helps people understand, I can relate to that because I'm similar to that person or similar to that behavior or similar to that journey. That could work for me, or actually that doesn't work for me. That would be my preference.
So if we have this idea of, myths coming out and then people just trying to myth bust that, what we're really doing is throwing rocks at each other. And what we need to be doing is sitting down and having more frank and open discussions and honest discussions. As you said, EV's not right for everybody, at least not yet. For whatever reason, it might be, I guess it could be price. It could be that in the location they happen to live in, the infrastructure isn't quite there yet, or whatever the reason is, or they just, they're not ready to buy a new car at all, whether it's ICE or EV. And so therefore sticking with their ICE vehicle makes sense for now. Absolutely.
And the other piece, people don't like change. Let's be really honest. People don't like change. So we really need to be more empathetic. We need to understand, actually, this person may have a genuine concern. Let's help them understand. Take them for a ride in your EV. Show them how it works. The amount of times a pal say, well, I see you're driving so-and-so. How does that work? Come and see. Come to my house. I'll show you how to charge. Let's be empathetic. The honesty is none of us are getting out of this alive. And I really want my children and those around us to spend time in a nice environment. Let's not throw rocks at each other. Let's be empathetic. Let's tell positive stories. And then I think we can make a difference. That's the kind of world I want to live in.
That's a good kind of world that I would like to live in, or like my children to live in and their children and so on. Because the one where everyone's shouting at each other isn't a very nice experience, is it? And I've seen a lot of work. So I've seen people like Auto Trader, for example, and I've seen it at shows like Everything Electric, whether it's North, South, London, or whatever it is, where people can actually go and try out an EV and get that experience. And Linda Grave does something similar with I think it's called EVX. You can go and try an EV. You can get the buzz of what it's all about, and you can decide for yourself if it's something that you think is good. But I've seen Auto Trader take people who were very, very skeptic and put them in a car and take them around a sort of test site, and it's been very successful because people have gone, oh, this thing actually moves quite quickly. Oh, it's easy to drive, etc. So I think there's a lot of mileage in what you've just said there. If people want to learn more about Konekt and about Gilbarco Veeder-Root, I hope I've said that correctly.
Yes.
Where should they go? And particularly around this sort of Konekt and the EV space and the work you do there, because I'm aware that obviously Gilbarco Veeder-Root is a very big company that has a lot of different things going on. Where would they go to learn more about these things?
Come and see us online, gilbarco.com. There's content on there from Konekt. Follow me on LinkedIn. Those would be the pieces I'm most active. So yes, really appreciate it.
We'll put those links, with your permission, we'll put them in the show notes.
Thank you.
And people can see those at wickedproblems.fm, all one word, apart from the dot. So please do come along and have a look and click through to the stuff that Neill's been talking about and get some more information that way. Neill, this happens all the time, but unfortunately we come to the end of our time together, and it's always a bit of a sad moment because I really think we could go on longer, but we have half an hour together and we've done it. So thank you very much for your time and your wisdom and your insights. It's been an absolute pleasure, and I hope, I wish you every success for the future with the work that you're doing.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate time with you. Lots of fun. So thank you.